Guys, I saw this news story. It made me think, is Trump the worst world leader ever in terms of his impact on the environment?
Only the worst so far.
The worst so far. Actually, that's sort of an optimistic statement, wouldn't you say? I predict that the environment will sustain life into the future, and there will be people who will fuck it up in that time.
So, I mean, let's just pick, like, worst world leaders of all time. Like Hitler, say. Was he bad for the... He was pretty bad for the environment, too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
tons of pollution from the World War.
We'll get to it, but I think there are certain historical villains that get cut out from this just from a lack of longevity. Hitler didn't have the staying power, far short of his 1,000-year goal. I should give some context, I think, right? Yeah, okay. So last week...
14.6 billion years ago. Okay, not that much. Go ahead, sorry.
Not that much context? We'll see. I might get a little... We might get a little too enthusiastic about the history part of this. So last week, a federal judge cleared the way for construction to resume on an offshore wind power project in New York. This is the second time that a court has ruled against the Trump administration's effort to kill new wind power facilities. Wind is currently responsible for producing 10% of all electricity in the U.S., and Trump hates it. He hates it. And in ways that don't even make sense, like killing the construction of a plant that's already under construction. That just wastes so much government money, and you don't even get anything at the end of it. And wind is the most benign of all our potential energy sources. So, like, why does he hate it? Well, he thinks that the wind power causes cancer. That's one reason he's given.
Wait, really? By what mechanism? I'm fascinated
Mechanism,
to
dude.
discover.
No. This is magical thinking, dude.
Magic cancer.
I hesitate to ask health advice from a guy who appointed RFK to the Secretary of Health, and also thinks that he shouldn't exercise because bodies have a limited amount of energy in them, and that if you exercise, you're using up your limited store of energy, and when you run out of energy, you die. So not exactly the keenest medical mind of our age.
Oh my God. I thought he had his problem with wind was that he thought that the turbines killed birds, which they do. The windmills.
That is true.
He's a great
that's what
bird
he says,
lover.
but I think realistically he hates that they ruined the view from one of his golf courses, and he just hates them forever.
Oh, is that what
is
it
also
is?
true. It was in Scotland. He has a golf course in Scotland, and the government put a wind farm off the shore of his golf course and, quote unquote, ruined his view. And he was unable to challenge the construction in court, and he's held a grudge against wind farms ever since.
My God.
It's crazy. He's not even the first guy named Don to be against windmills, dude.
Quixote has him beat, baby.
I think he should try that approach, Like, I think he should just, grab a pole and...
Dude, I would love to see Donald Trump try and joust something or somebody, dude. That would be glorious.
I would
Like
frankly love
Abrams
to see
tank.
him in the same photo frame as a burro. I would love to see him heft a lance. All of this would be golden. I don't know if the early Spanish literature reference is catching for everyone, but this is Don Quixote. Who do you think is Donald Trump's Sancho Panza? Is it just the VP?
I mean, he doesn't have any loyalty in him, so he doesn't have one Sancho Panza, dude.
Yeah.
I guess if anything, it's like Ivanka, right? The one person he's consistently likes.
Doesn't really fit the whole, like, buddy cop kind of vibe of Don and Sancho Panza, so yeah. Maybe early Spanish literature doesn't map one-to-one on modern U.S. politics.
Guys, his Sancho was Jeffrey Epstein.
Oof.
It's
okay, there you go.
Never mind, we nailed it. Okay,
Yeah.
So that was annoying, right? Like the windmill thing, like it doesn't make any sense. Wind farms are just like a general good. They kill a hell of a lot less birds than like a coal plant, for example, kills with pollution and industrial waste. Just clean energy that basically runs forever with minimal upkeep costs. I mean, we grew up next to huge wind farms. We're not riddled with cancer or pelted with dead birds. I like wind. Generally speaking, people like wind. In fact, previous Republican administrations like wind. George W. Bush was a big proponent of of wind energy, and Texas leads the nation in the production of wind energy by a huge margin.
To be fair, modern conservatives idolized Ronald Reagan, and one of the very first things he did when he got into office was tear down the solar panels that were already installed on the White House by Carter.
Reagan's got to be on my list of world leaders that I want to get to here.
This is sort of distressing, right? To have someone so malignantly just obsessed with doing stupid and harmful things, right? Like, it's pretty disgusting. It's a little hard to take. Do we have a coping mechanism for this? Help.
I recommend alcohol, but it's not for everyone. Your results may vary. I kind of don't want to think too hard specifically about the Deegster right here. I do want to go into the fantastical world of history a little bit and think about, like, how bad is he actually? I think that's a useful exercise. Like,
yeah.
You and I are personally affected by this as residents of the United States at this time. But the world is wide and history is long, and surely there is someone out there who, in the long arc of history, who competed for worst leader for the environment ever. Really early historical figures predate the idea of an environment, I think. So I'm going to knock out like a huge swath of people, like, the first human, as like, oh, they started the slow decline because they introduced humans and therefore doomed the earth to destruction. I'm gonna cut out early environmental heroes like Genghis Khan, whose reaving and killing lowered the global temperature because he killed so many people.
Yeah, like a large part of Asia, like, reforested and sucked a lot of carbon out of the atmosphere, so it cooled down a bit.
But he doesn't count.
Well, because clearly he's good for the environment, not bad for the environment, right?
But he would have had no concept of it. Like, the concept of an environment kind of traces back to the early environmental movement. And we're talking about like the late 1800s, the first conservationists, when you've got Teddy Roosevelt in the United States creating the national park system after the efforts of activists like John Muir. It starts out, we want to preserve the space. We see there's pollution. The rivers are running with waste, and, we want to save natural spaces. If you're degrading natural spaces, that should count, even if it doesn't have as much impact on like air quality or the temperature of the planet. And then knowledge, like the knowledge at the time and culpability should enter into this. And I think that's where Trump really shines in this power ranking. It's like, he should know. The research has been done. We know what to do, and he's doing the opposite. So I'll throw it to you. I have some contenders, but I want to throw it to the crew here. Who would you put on the ranking for world historical environmental villains?
I mean, Stalin's got to be up there, right?
I have
Led
Stalin
a
on my
massive
list.
industrialization effort in the Soviet Union, which was very, did not consider the environment at all. He was in power for a long time. He had absolute power, so he could get a lot done. He did get a lot done. He led his country through World War II, which I imagine did a lot of environmental damage.
They started building nuclear bombs in large quantities.
And then testing them.
Yep, not great for the environment.
I have written down here a couple of his greatest hits between 1928 and 1940. Soviet coal production quintupled. CO2 emissions climbed from negligible levels to roughly 500 million metric tons annually by the time of his death. He had this plan called the Plan for the Transformation of Nature, that, but in Russian, focused on massive irrigation and damming, which caused the long-term desertification of the Aral Sea. We basically don't have an Aral Sea now, because of the policies of the Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin. Basically destroyed it to try to boost some farming in the region.
I will say this. When the Soviets tested their nuclear bombs, at least they tested them in Siberia and not on pristine, beautiful Pacific islands like the United States did.
Hey, we chucked a hell of a lot of them at Nevada. And, that's basically our Siberia. The only difference is that there's no Soviet equivalent of a Las Vegas that you could see the nukes from.
It's hot instead of cold. That's the big difference, I guess.
That is a pretty big difference, actually. David, did you have a difference between Nevada and Siberia?
No, yeah, I mean, pretty much to say, I was going to say we don't have a Siberia, but then, yeah, I
also,
forgot
Alaska
about Nevada.
is kind of our Siberia anyway. It's big, it's empty, it's cold, it's got tundras.
So
It's
I
got
was thinking,
Inuit people.
yeah, okay, Stalin. I mean, of course, maybe FDR would be the American version. You know, America was heavily industrializing during his presidency. We also started nuclear testing around that time. Right. And I mean, we also did lots of, like electrification and damming.
Works Progress Administration.
Right.
You're probably thinking like TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority and stuff.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to try to quantify these. You did sort of thoroughly spell out your criteria, but I do feel like we should not count killing lots of humans as a positive. Like, I feel like, whatever case you could make for that, let's just not.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and stipulate that the reason you would want a nice environment is as a nice place for humans to live, so killing a bunch of humans doesn't really help your case.
So I would nominate George W. Bush. I think
Okay.
he's interesting because, you talked about how Trump shines because, like, he has all the information he needs to know better. Like, George W. also had ample evidence, and also just compared to his alternative, obviously, like Al Gore was gonna come in and
Huge part of his political legacy, like that was what he campaigned on, was environmental policy, largely.
so I think George W. loses on that. Right. The Kyoto Accords, like the U.S. did not participate during George W. Bush's administration, right? Like is that when that started? Trump's sort of like a bad sequel.
I mean, every Republican president we get is a bad sequel, dude. They come in, they wreck up the economy, they start another war in the Middle East, and they leave. So the Democrat can fix it, and we can elect another one to do the exact same shit, dude.
It is nuts that they invaded Iran, though. He had to get out his sillies before his second term ended.
Living in America, dude, I feel like a liver cell in like an alcoholic's body, He's like, he's going to the bottle again. I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't elect a Republican. They're like, I'm going to do it. Here we go. I can't stop. And I'm just like, no, please. No, here we go again. They never learn.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of other Republicans, I think Phil, do you have any other Republican presidents who you think are
Well, you mentioned
contenders?
Ronald Reagan.
We could talk about Reagan a little bit. Yeah,
Please do.
Like you said, rolled back a lot of the environmental regulation that was signed under Nixon and Kennedy and Johnson and Carter. Basically, the environmental policy had been bipartisan from the JFK administration onward, and both parties were more or less committed to like improving the environment, fighting smog, fighting pollution, like making America better for Americans. And Reagan was was a pioneer in politicizing the issue and like fighting those lib cucks, where they live, taking down their solar panels and taking away their clean energy and drilling baby drill. Climate science was a little different then, but as early as the 70s, we had some idea that our emissions were causing climate change. So it was pretty reckless to spike oil production in that time.
People were probably pretty hungry for it because they were coming out of the oil
The
crisis
gas crisis.
caused by trouble in Iran, of all things.
So how about Obama? I have a question. So I know there was this big increase in American oil production under Obama, which so I could see that people would hold that against him. Fracking certainly has a lot of environmental consequences, and then of course the oil itself or the natural gas. But it is kind of, I think it was interesting seeing that natural gas burns so much cleaner than coal, that if it mostly was replacing coal, it's actually kind of a logical step in a progression towards a more environmentally sustainable energy pipeline. So I don't know.
Yeah,
what do you guys
that
think?
makes sense. It is disruptive to the environment in a way that would kind of piss off your John Muir style environmentalists of that time. But, in terms of emissions and the health of the planet in general, global temperatures, fighting ocean acidification, it is better as a fuel source than coal. And also coal power plants do have a lot more harm on their immediate vicinity, like big billowing smokestacks can cause acid rain, and the waste is like really harmful if, like, depending on where they dump it, if they don't have a safe place to dump it, or they get permission from, say, the Trump administration to dump it wherever they want, then yeah, that's bad.
All right. Who else do you have on your list of contenders, Phil?
I have Mao. I just thought he was an interesting note.
Can we talk about the part where he had everybody in the country try and kill all the birds because they thought they were eating the crops, and then because there were no birds, there were
The
like a
crops
huge
died.
plague of insects, and the insects ate all the crops instead?
Yep. Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah, so
it has some like
basically-
the campaign has some like incredible name, like the 5 noisome pests or something.
Yeah. Yeah. This is kind of part of the Great Leap Forward slate of policies where, they killed basically all the sparrows in China because they were noisome pests, and this caused like environmental collapse within China, and it like killed off their crops, and there was a massive famine. There was also the famous backyard furnaces.
Yeah, that were like everyone's like smelt some iron or steel in your backyard.
Yeah. During Mao's reign, China lost 10% of its total forest cover in just a few years. So, yeah, Mao's on the list for sure, but again, was not really privy to modern climate science. So I don't know how much we could like really lay at his feet.
I think if you destroy 10% of the forests, you can probably tell something's wrong even without modern ideas.
Yeah.
He does seem so. I don't know that much about him. Was he more stupid or crazy?
I don't think he was either stupid or crazy, actually. He's just big swings, occasionally big misses.
He's a big ideas guy. I think you don't become the absolute ruler of a nation like China after a years-long civil war where you're fighting in the mountains, like running away from the nationalists for, the Long March. Like,
and then the Japanese invaded, dude, before the Civil War even ended. And then it was a 3-way war.
A civil war, then the Japanese, then the Civil War again, then came into power and like rapidly industrialized. Yeah, Mao had a hell of a run. But I don't think you get there being stupid.
All right. So is that our list then? Are we?
I wanted to do one more modern one, like a non-American. I want to put Jair Bolsonaro into contention.
There you
go. I remember like the main environmental issue I remember as a kid is saving the rainforests and saving the whales. Saving the rainforest, Jair did not get that tip. He's like, fuck the rainforest. He's done so much to destroy the Amazon. In 2020, when global emissions plummeted, global emissions rose by 9.5% in Brazil because of land use change. Deforestation of the Amazon increased by 60%. During his term compared to previous 4 years. And the Amazon is like the lungs of the planet. It's like the biggest forest on Earth. It's a huge carbon sink. And the way they're clearing the land in Brazil is just burning, making room for cattle farms.
And much like the human body, if you replace your lungs with beef, you're not going to have a good time.
If you replace your lungs with fire, you're going to have a bad time.
With
fire
smoked beef.
Yep.
Perfection.
As much as that is the dream of many Brazilians, you simply can't do it and live a healthy life.
RFK might actually approve of that, though. That sounds like something he would. It's probably straight to the top of the pyramid.
It's actually healthy if you put beef in your lungs. This ancient wisdom.
Well, okay, so there's the term blowing smoke up your ass, right? That actually comes from an ancient health craze where they would do tobacco as smoke enemas. So smoke is healthy for you is not a new idea, dude. It's an ancient
Bring
idea.
it back. Bring it back, I say.
I mean, hey, we've got a guy on the Supreme Court who loves drinking through his butt, dude. Now it's time to start smoking with your butt too.
Kavanaugh,
right?
I like beer.
Kavanaugh's butt chugging.
Yeah.
If he loves beer. I think if you're butt chugging, I don't know if you like beer. You either love beer or you have some other issue with beer.
You hate beer, but you still want to get drunk. You don't have to taste it, I guess.
Okay.
Before we crown a winner here, I do want to go over some Trump stuff, just to kind of like get him back in the conversation. So Trump withdrew us from the Paris Accords, and that was a climate agreement where the U.S. agreed to cut carbon emissions by a certain amount. By withdrawing from the Paris Accords, basically allowed ourselves to produce way more carbon emissions. Some analysts estimate that we've locked in an extra 1.8 billion metric tons of future emissions by 2035 because of this period. Emissions were dropping for the US because of a clean energy revolution. We're actually making progress on cutting emissions starting in the 90s. Like it was a downward trend. And in 2025, we saw a 2.4% increase in emissions. It's the beginning of an upward trend. Cut the tax credits for EVs. So, gas guzzlers back on the menu.
Maybe you're going to get to it, like the fact that he is just sort of explicitly asked for bribes from oil companies. He thinks that there's just so much money to milk right there.
He's gone so far in terms of his anti-environmental crusade as to kind of form his global policy around it. We're in war in Iran and in Venezuela to get oil and bilk American oil companies for more bribes. It's just so blatant and disgusting and out in the open. I guess the wind people don't pony up like the oil people do. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Who's on top here?
It's got to be Trump, realistically. He's in charge of the biggest industrial base. He's doing the most he can to make sure it's as sturdy as possible. It'd be hard to top him, at least of leaders that have existed, Whoever starts a nuclear war that sets off a nuclear winter might do more environmental damage than Trump.
And give him time. That's the worry. He can always start off a nuclear winter. A lot of the impacts of climate policy won't be seen until after a leader is gone. We won't know how bad it is. Maybe we'll never know how bad. Maybe we won't survive long enough to know how bad it gets.
Well, to see if we survive, join in next time.
So he's not a world leader, but I do feel like we should make an honorable mention here of Thomas Midgley as an organism who has done the most damage to our atmosphere. So he invented chlorofluorocarbons, which is what destroyed the ozone layer, and he came up with leaded gas. So he really fucked shit up, boy.
Yeah.
So he suffered some catastrophic injuries, I forget how, and so he was in traction. And he designed this rope and pulley system so that he could move himself around a little bit, and then he got tangled up in it and strangled to death. Many of his inventions were not very well thought through, as it turns out.
A lot of the good ones go that way. It's sad to see. Caught in a Rube Goldberg strangulation device.
I mean, what other good ones? It's him and David Carradine.
David Carradine thought he knew what he was doing. Maybe I'm just being a little catty, but I'll crown Trump. Sure, it's what he wants anyways. Just wants to be a king of something.
What do you think of the George W? I think he gets a lot of credit, honestly, or whatever, discredit. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's not as bad as Trump, I don't think, but he is pretty bad. For sure.
Yeah, I think that a lot of what he did, there were still clean energy projects that were getting greenlit under his administration. He's a business ghoul in a way that Trump, for as much of the businessman president that he claims to be, he's really an ideologue when it comes to environmental policy in a bad way.
Really,
he just
everything.
Wants to kill the planet, it seems.
Yeah. My memory of it isn't that great. I feel like being stupid and not caring, kind of as an MO, and having that be sort of very impactful to the environment. That does seem like a Bush innovation. Though, yeah, I mean, again, I wasn't around for Reagan, so.
Plus, to be fair, dude, things can be worse than not caring, right? They can be spiteful, like Trump. Trump doesn't just not care about the environment, he wants to damage it.
I definitely think the not caring thing about the environment, that was a Reagan innovation. That was the split point on environmental policy. That's when it was politicized and made to be something that only Democrats cared about. It's oh, you don't care. We don't care about this. We just care about business, Good value. Rolling coal.
Right.
I don't know. I do remember not liking Bush because of environmental stuff, but I also, I think Trump is malicious and doing the same things and also worse things, actively attacking profitable green energy solutions.
That I think that is sort of what separates it. It does seem like he's just sort of a natural. It almost seems like he's just a natural evolution of this not caring and taking a lot of pride in not caring, and even showing some hostility just to show how much he doesn't care, whatever, vice signaling. But then, yeah, like this shit with these wind farms and just like a project that's ready to go, just undermining it. Yeah, that does
just
seem...
outside my window, kind of down the street a little bit. He's trying to start oil drilling operations.
Wait, Trump's outside your window? Quick, get out there! Stop him! Don't let him drill for oil.
Fuck a mug at him. That's not an actionable threat. That's just anyway. I'll just
It's a metaphor.
Yeah, it's a metaphor. A metaphor for him being a night stalker in my neighborhood.
Yeah,
like just off the coast, that's like where they want to throw up new oil drilling rigs in like this massive marine sanctuary. It's
well,
like
look,
a terrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, if he can't have a good view from his golf course, people, then everyone, all the baby seals must be covered in oil. And
dude, we got to convince Scotland to put oil rigs off the coast of his golf course, because then he'll oil drilling instead of windmills, dude.
Quick,
yeah, I mean, it's just
Scotland.
The thing is, it's not like previous administrations where it's, explicitly to make a buck. Like ordering oil drilling operations off the coast of California, that's just to make Californians' lives worse. That's it. That's the only... He wants to kill the baby seals. He wants to kill the whales. He wants to make the surfing shitty. Like he wants to make... Like that's why he wants to do it. He like hates Americans who live in California, and
it's mutual.
That he wants...
Yeah,
and it's
yourself,
fucking
dog.
mutual.
At least we'll soon have the birth of a new sport, dude. High viscosity surfing.
And if you want to invent a new petrochemical fueled sport, let us know in the comments and join us for another exciting, drippy, goopy episode of Infohazard.